Fear, on the other side of fear, you'll always find your true self.
It's true. And you don't have to do it alone. If you're in a community like that, it's going to support. Maybe you'll fail. Oh, well, do it again. And You'll succeed the next time.
Shelby Jo Long is a business strategist, speaker, and keynote author who helps entrepreneurs and executives transform their expertise into thriving businesses.
When I started entrepreneurship 5-7 years ago, that was a challenge because I'm an expert, but I was not the only expert in the room. It's being a part of the conversation, and sometimes your presentation is not going to land, but you can't be defeated by that. You've got to get up and do it again.
What's up, everybody? This is Ryan Van Ornum. I am back with another episode of Scaling Up Success powered by Cynergist. Cynergist is your go-to company to help you with scaling your operations, building it up from the ground up, whether it's solopreneurs all the way up to like $50 million companies. Cynergist can help. Today on the podcast, we have Shelby Jo Long, one of my good friends. Shelby, how the heck are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm coming to Denver tomorrow, so I'm excited.
Oh, I love it. Can't wait to see you. It's going to be great.
It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Awesome. So you got all types of stuff happening. I mean, just like, tell me what you got going on right now.
I do. I have a lot of things going on. Probably the most, I'm a communication strategist. That's the basic, how you'd put an umbrella over everything, and which goes everything from brand strategy for individual companies of how to become more visible in the marketplace to speakers that want to earn more money and be on stages. And it has everything to do with communication and how you position yourself and really who you partner with. So that's kind of the overall piece of what I do. So I work in the speaking space. I work in business consulting. And then I work with authors too. So it's just a mix of things that I work with. So.
Man, I love that. And it's kind of like when people are building their own brands, when you combine the authorship with the speaking engagements, with like social media engagement, and then a sound marketing plan, it's amazing what can happen to a business grow with those organically. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's about being visible, but it's also being visible in the right places. It's being visible around people that are your ideal clients or that are in networks of people that can refer you. I think that's such an important part of business, is recognizing that you can do it alone, but it's pretty lonely. But it's more fun to be around people and create these partnerships, and so you can solve your problems so much faster and you're able to grow that much faster. So
the quote that comes to my head is like, your net worth is directly in proportion to your network.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And but then you think, as a solo business owner, as a business owner that has employees, you're not going to be, unless you're visible and unless you're part of the conversation, you're not going to make those next steps. So it's taking steps and doing the networking and meeting the people and having the conversations. It's also important when you're growing your company.
Absolutely. How do you see like the way that business has changed in like the last 10 years with the growth of like social media and stuff like that?
Sure. Social media is the necessary evil, that if you're not online, that's the first place that, especially this generation of customers and clients that we have, the millennials and the Gen Z, like that's all they know. That's right. The place that they'll go to find you. So if you don't have a digital footprint, that it's really hard. You're in obscurity. And so that, I think, is one thing that even if you don't like Facebook and LinkedIn and all that, you got to be on it and you got to have a presence. And that doesn't mean that you need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on digital marketing. It just means that you have to be there and be aware. So I think that's a piece of it too. It's going to be interesting to see how AI changes things. We've already seen that make a pretty big impact in the marketplace, but I think it's just going to continue to change. But that's something to remember too, is that being in social media and being in the digital forefront helps you be able to pivot and adapt, so you can adapt your own business and your own offer to the new marketplace. So
Definitely. And one of the things that I know I've talked to you about, and I love what you got going on with this, especially you work in a like a national type of connection with this, is like you work really closely with women business owners that are specifically in the trades,
yeah.
and being able to like help them grow their brands specifically out, through speaking engagements, through other modalities. What type of advice do you give people? Because that's a very interesting niche to be able to help people with. And do you see that people are really resonating with that and making better inroads because of it?
Yeah, the Women in the Trades conference is something that's kind of new. I'm not in the trades, but I grew up in the trades. Like I grew up on a farm. I was a wildland firefighter when I was younger, in my younger and in shape days. So I that's not foreign to me, but I have been a part of male dominated environments in the world of college debate. I was always in more male dominated environment, and even in C-suite leadership in businesses, that it's typically more male dominated. It doesn't mean that there's not women, but there's a dominant voice. And so there's that synergy there, and particularly in the trades. And I have these great female friends that are in the trades and that are leaders in the trades, and I just think there's an opportunity to have a discussion about it. So as I've started to create that network, and for the conference it's going to be in the fall, I think there's people are seeking and like yearning for an opportunity to connect and talk about that shared experience. And it's not even necessarily solving the problems, but it's sharing that experience and being able to tell your story and being able to own it. And I think that's a big piece of it too. And whether it's because you've experienced whatever you've experienced in the workplace, but I think it's becoming a really neat community that we're pulling together to have this conversation and to have the tough conversation about the challenges. And it is for women in the trades, but it's males too. So that to have a conversation about how to create that environment that is, it's not even inclusive, isn't even the right word. It's just creative. So it's synergistic for everybody. So
And
it's
what
very
what are you
exciting.
seeing on in the like now that you've started building into that a little bit, are you seeing like the trade side that the leadership demographic is aging? Do you see that as that there it's either an opportunity for a younger generation to be able to step into that gap, or is it that some of the older generation is having to like shed their skin a little bit, per se, like a shake snake sheds its skin, to be able to adapt to a changing environment?
I think it's a little bit of both. And one of the reasons to do this conference is that right now in the trades, about 14% of people that work in the trades are women, and which is not a high number. And I'm in Montana, and in Montana it's about 10%, which is surprising to me, but it's still, with the amount of small plumbing companies and carpenters and all of those that are aging out of the business because it's taxing, and they're aging out of the business. There's not apprentices to take things over, and I think there's going to be I think it'll be really interesting in the next couple of years, next 10 years, to see what happens with that, because the people that are working with their hands, I don't know if kids are being encouraged to go into that. So that's kind of one of the purposes of the conference too, is to have the conversation about employment and how do we attract young people, or how do we attract people that are in a mid-career transition to be able to get into the trades and build the trades. So it's because those are necessary jobs. Like construction and trades are not going away, but
Right.
it's how do we attract people into that space that don't know about the opportunities. And so that's why we wanted to have the conference too.
I love that. And then, I know I'm kind of popping back and forth, but I love hearing
Oh,
how this stuff is kind of resonates with all of these things. It's like with the speaking engagements that you really help people, I find it that it's so interesting the way that industry has changed. Like the speaking industry has even changed over the last 10 years. What things have you seen that have been, kind of in regards to just like the keynote speakers, or even just, getting on a panel or something like that? Has the process changed a lot?
I think it's become, and maybe this is just because I'm in the zeitgeist of it, right? Like I'm a professional speaker, and then I work with professional speakers to get them placed. But it's so that's the conversation I hear. But getting people want to get paid to speak, great. But those opportunities are few and far between. And I do also feel that there are those opportunities out there. We just have to brand ourselves and put ourselves as it's not about us, it's about what they need. And
Yeah.
so to think more about, I mean, if this is branding, what you got to brand, when you brand yourself, yes, it's you, but then what problem do you solve? What thing are you talking about that companies want to hear? So those corporate things are harder. And I do feel that with speakers bureaus, and we're a newer speaker bureau, and we work with we don't we don't we're not agents, if you will, but we do work with businesses to be able to bring people in, and the conversations are getting harder. And I think too, with like the hesitancy to spend money on training, and I think that because that I feel, and you can confirm this too, I feel that kind of exists too, is that people are afraid to put much money into marketing and training because they don't know how much money they're going to have at the end of the year, and costs are going up with tariffs and whatever. Like there's so much unknown that's making it more challenging. But I do feel like those high paid speaking gigs, like I feel that that's a pretty closed circle. We're learning about that and trying to figure out how to infiltrate that. So
I find a lot of it, we help with outreach on some of this stuff in my company, but like what we found is the way to engage people has definitely started to change. It went away from like just you really cannot get a hold of people on the phone anymore. You have to engage with back channels more than anything else that I've seen. And that's where creating an engaged connection, via like back channels is definitely where we've seen growth in that regard. Is gone are the days of, I think as a whole, our whole society is kind of moving away from like cold calling as a whole. People are just tired of getting spammed and stuff like that. Like it's just like it's not the way that technology is working now, it's just not there. Like
right.
And gatekeepers, we call them gatekeepers, but like the side of it of the person that is in front of the decision makers is, oh yeah, thank you for your time, appreciate it, and then click, it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that piece has definitely seen a change over the last 10 years. And I think a lot of that, especially, and I know in the last 18 months has changed even more because artificial intelligence voice calls came out and quickly got banned because of that reason as well.
For sure. For
So,
sure. Which I think is what makes the brand even more important,
right,
and
right.
how a brand is a marketing strategy, but it's not an advertising strategy. Like you're not advertising to sell. You
Right.
use your brand to build trust and to create relationships and to add value. And then when they want somebody to do their sales outreach, or when they want somebody to help them get on stage, they're going to go to the people that they know and trust. And so I think I feel, I just wrote an article about this week, but I feel that the human communication, like communication is a business's competitive edge. It is.
Yes.
And particularly in a day of AI, where a lot of the communication is AI driven and AI created, but that human touch is going to be just that much more important. And we have to be able to harness that as business owners.
And I think also it's like, you can still utilize time-saving measures to be able to help facilitate that. That doesn't
Absolutely.
mean that you have a robot do everything for you or a program do everything for you. It means that you can utilize your own tonality in a situation to be able to help, produce better results. A lot of times what I've seen is messaging just changes from the individual person. If they try to do it on their own, they'll change. Instead of like keeping their own tonality, they'll actually change from one message to the next, instead of just staying very similar in their approach to, like, say, a list of people that you're reaching out to. And
Yeah.
what we've seen is like the purposefulness of it will actually change, because you're changing your own message constantly.
Yeah.
Having a like a tonality brand to go along with how you're approaching things, because like if you're more laid back in your approach versus like button up and professional, you know, or if you're more of like a video that you're embedding into certain things, there's multiple ways to be able to engage with people, and that's what I find very fascinating about the new approaches that are coming in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just it's all challenging, and it's a puzzle piece, right? It's like
Right.
how does your puzzle piece fit into the bigger puzzle, and
Yeah.
how do you fit it in? And the people that know how to do that, like create those systems so you can scale and you can be in more than one place at once, and you can create those conversations, because it's creating the connections and standing out in the marketplace, I think is that's that's the thing that is challenging, particularly if you have a thought leadership business or speaking business, or I mean any kind of business. So it's
So on the speaking engagement, it really is like, you are your brand. Would you agree?
absolutely, absolutely.
So a lot of people, as we get into this more and more, you start to see that like social media can be used as a powerful tool, as opposed to people thinking it's like it's a cesspool of,
Yeah,
and being able to utilize it for good, as opposed to thinking about it as like there's nothing good coming from it.
right.
So I've I've watched many different videos and read many articles about like the changing tides, and like the way that organic is. You probably have 2 to 3 years of organic growth until AI just floods the market.
Yeah.
So that's what I've kind of seen as well. Is that what you're kind of seeing it on brand establishment?
I yes, I feel that push, and I feel that I do feel that that's in the conversation for sure.
Hmm.
And particularly in business development, that's you've got to be able to prepare to adapt, and because there's some professions that are going to disappear, and like copywriting, editing, like those things, they're not necessarily going to disappear, but they're going to be a lot more limited.
Right.
And it's and those are big industries. So
What's
it's
your thoughts? Because like this just popped in my head. I apologize, but like,
it's okay.
what's your thoughts on like video speaking engagements? Okay, that there's maybe a time in the near future that those speaking engagements may go to like an avatar version of somebody.
Yeah, I think I've seen this happen like in real estate companies where they have, they my very limited knowledge about it, but they are avatars that are created and use the voice. I mean, I'm a communication person, so I'm immediately gonna, have my hands up about that. But at the same time, if you have a large company and you need to get everybody on the same page, it's not a bad way to communicate, and it's not a bad way to get people to make sure everybody's receiving the same message, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges in organizations just in general is getting everybody on the same page and making sure in the same direction and know about the changes that are being made, because email is pretty ubiquitous anymore. Like I I have a hard time checking my email. So it's
Right, right.
there's the way of communication is changing. So that is a way to engage. I think we will probably go there. I think that's maybe part of the future. I think that it will, though. My optimistic side says that it's going to make that human communication even that much more important.
I agree 100%. I also feel like there's going to be You've already started to see them, that there's these individual communities that are following brands.
Yep.
So you may have somebody that comes into, like you said, the women in trades. You may have a very powerful female CEO of a up and coming, like, say, general contracting business out of Idaho.
Hmm.
I'm just making this up as we go along, but you could have a very powerful female CEO of a general contracting business in Idaho that starts gaining traction with their brand. And instead of, like, she may have the ability to create courses and content and all of this other stuff in her own community. We're starting to see these gain a lot more traction, as opposed to just keeping everything on social media. And now she's creating her own lines of other profitability sources because of those individual classes that she's teaching about general contracting. It's pretty fascinating that people are trying to get people off of social media, out of the white noise of so much, and into their own communities.
Yeah. Well, because that's where the gold is.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. That community building is really, I mean, I've seen that. I've seen that shift in the market to that space too, for sure, like membership communities and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And then it can go right into those speaking engagements too, because you can have free communities, you pull them off of there, and now your speakers are starting to generate a lot of business for themselves. Like, that they're creating their own brand identity. It's pretty cool to be able to see that stuff happen. I love what you're doing to be able to create that community for all speakers to be able to resonate with. What you're doing is a fascinating piece of our whole, like, economic opportunities that are out there. It's pretty cool. Well done.
Thank you. I'm excited to see where it goes.
So
I
as
imagine we'll be working a lot together because you need systems to be able to scale it. So
Absolutely, and
yeah.
that's the thing that people see. But as we kind of wrap this up, what's one thing, as people, if they wanted to get into the speaking side of stuff, what's one piece of advice that you'd like to give them?
Take action, do it. And that is being around other speakers. It's the communication speaking has been a part of my world for a long time. I taught it at the college level for 20 some odd years. I traveled around the world teaching it and being a part of those communities. And it's a very small community, but I would say the professional speaking world is similar to that, what I've discovered about it in the past year and a half or so. And you know, I've spoken a lot, but I tell you what, my style, my brand, everything has changed since I've been more involved with the speaking community because then you hear good speakers and you see what the trends are and you start to move and adapt your things to how you present your own ideas to what works well and what doesn't work well. So I think the advice that I always gave my college students was you just have to get up and practice and if there's something that speaking intimidates 90% of the population and nothing fun is ever easy. Well,
Right.
that's not, but it's like you've got to be able to take that challenge and put yourself in a position where you're a little uncomfortable. That's business,
Yeah.
right? If you're not taking challenges and you're not doing that, but I would say for speaking, I mean, a place to start, especially if you're intimidated by speaking, is go to your local Toastmasters club or Marty hosts the Speaker Speak Live group every Wednesday. I was at that this morning. And that's just something like find these spaces where you can start to be involved with those things. And then you can discover what's out there. And then once you find your voice and discover your brand and figure out how to give an elevator pitch in 30 seconds rather than 5 minutes, then that's where you have the opportunity to position yourself to get these paid gigs or to be in a corporate. That's kind of where it is. So I mean, it's really just as simple as surrounding yourself with people that are doing a similar thing. And it's such a support. It's like coming to achieve. It's such a supportive. Like everybody wants everybody else to win.
Right. Right.
Yes, there's a competition to it, but you're surrounded by people that are all trying to make their business better. So
Absolutely love that. And there's so many opportunities out there, but biggest thing is just take action. I love that.
100%. There, you just have to do it. If it scares you, just do it. It's
Fear, on the other side of fear, you'll always find your true self, and
yeah,
once you get past that, there's nothing stopping you.
yeah, it's true. And you don't have to do it alone. And if you're in a community like that, it's going to support it. Maybe you'll fail. Oh well, do it again, and
Right.
you'll succeed the next time. When I started entrepreneurship, stepping in entrepreneurship 5-7 years ago, that was a challenge because I'm an expert, but I was not the only expert in the room. And so it's being a part of the conversation, and sometimes your presentation is not going to land. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but you can't be defeated by that. You've got to get up and do it again. So
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I wish we had more time to be able to just cover so many there. I mean, we'll bring you back for another one because like there's so much amazing stuff that we can still talk about. And
absolutely.
Shelby, how can people, if they're interested in your services, how can people get a hold of you?
LinkedIn, social media is probably the easiest place. Shelby Jo Long is my name. My business site is shelbyjolong.com, and you can find out about my speaking and all of what I have to offer there. The speaking business is Cadence Speaker Academy, and we call it that because there's a cadence to speaking, and you've got to do the work, and you've got to follow through certain things to be able to do that. And then also I'm in the Strategic Advisor Board, president of that, and you can find information about me there too.
Fantastic. You are just a cornucopia of amazingness, and I'm so grateful to spend this time with you today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Likewise. I'm looking forward to connecting with you tomorrow.
Absolutely. We will be at the Achieve conference in Denver, Colorado coming up tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing you, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Once again, this is Ryan Van Ornum with the Scaling Up Success podcast powered by Cynergists. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, have a wonderful day.